Hey there, it's Lara here with Witchy Wednesday for August 7th to 14th, 2019. You can see I'm in a different location this week. And if you've never been to the channel before, welcome. I usually do these videos from my office space at home, but I'm at the lake and where I spend some time in the summer. And on Manitoulin Island, which for those of you who don't know, happens to be the largest freshwater island in the world, and there's a lot of culture and history here in terms of the indigenous peoples of the area, of Canada. So we are lucky enough to have a little spot here that we get to spend some time in, and I'm here for a few days on a bit of a working retreat. Working meaning getting some of this kind of work done, and also some practical work here, doing some cleaning up and organizing and tidying up that hasn't been done in a while because there's always people around. So that's what I'm doing, and I wanted to record this video for you because there's a lot going on. A couple of significant things I wanted to mention. So I'm going to try my best to get this done. Well, I'm going to get this done in one video instead of a two-parter this week because internet is a little sketchy here and I'm a little time crunched, so it's easier to upload one video than two, and hopefully even that happens. And then I'll be back again next week to talk again, probably in a one-parter because I'll be here again to talk about the full moon that's coming in Aquarius. But this week we're talking a lot about a couple of significant events, and they revolve around the sun and its movement to the midpoint of Leo, which is the strongest point of the sun, and also Jupiter moving direct, which is good news. So, and a couple of other little things that I'll mention along the way, but that's the focus for today's video. I'm not sure if you can hear, I'm a little distracted. There's lots of birds around most of the time, and terns and different things they're constantly squawking. So hopefully, if you can hear that, great. Hopefully it's not drowning out my voice. I doubt it. I'm pretty loud. So also, sorry for the sunglasses, but I know it's kind of weird not to make eye contact, but it's really sunny, which is awesome. And I wanted to do this outside, to spend some time outside. So, alrighty, let's talk about what we usually start with, which is where the moon is at. And the moon is the moon is in the sign of Scorpio right now as I'm recording this. And then tomorrow, Thursday, it will move into Sagittarius. And on Sunday, it'll move into Capricorn, and Monday into Aquarius. And then we'll have that full moon in Aquarius next week, which we'll talk about. Also, incidentally, I'm very low tech today. I don't have a printer here, so I don't have a chart to show you. So I'm going to do my best. I just have my handwritten notes here on the table beside me, so that's why I keep looking down. Okay, so let's begin at the beginning. Today, Wednesday the 7th, marks astrological Lammas. So Lammas is a pagan festival that marks the celebration of the first harvest. And we mark that on the calendar generally at the beginning of August 1st, 2nd. But astrologically speaking, Lammas is when the sun hits 15 degrees, which is the midpoint of the sign of Leo, because that's when the sun is at its full power. And that's what's happening this week, and that's significant on a number of levels. So, it's astrological Lammas today because this is when the sun is hitting its strongest. And I'm going to tell you, sitting underneath it here on a sunny day with not a cloud in the sky, you can feel it. It's beautiful, but I have sunscreen on for sure. So just briefly, if you're interested in learning more about these things, you can always look them up. But there's this is the time of celebrating the first of the harvest, right? It's a time when pagans celebrated the power of the sun god, Lugh. And that's a Celtic, he was a Celtic god. And the god of the sun, the god of light. And, lending his power kind of thing to us on earth and allowing things to grow in abundance. And so this is a time of that celebration and that marking, that gratitude of the abundance that we've been given, right? And it's a celebratory time, but at the same time, it's also an acknowledgement that, like everything, this too shall pass, right? And the season of celebration and abundance doesn't last forever. So when we harvest the crops or cut them down, it's that marking of in a way, like the death of the old cycle, but then it's also an acknowledgement of the rebirth, because within the crops that we harvest are the seeds used to plant next year's harvest. So you see how that works. Everything is cyclical, right? So, it's an acknowledgement of the turning of the wheel. So the other thing that is notable at this time is that we've got something called what's known as the Lion's Gate portal, right? This phenomenon that involves the sun at the midpoint of Leo, the strongest it can be, right? Midpoint of Leo is the strongest the sun can be. And it is lining up with the earth and also with a very powerful fixed star called Sirius, the Dog Star. And this star was revered, sometimes feared, but mostly revered by cultures all over the world. And it's, again, an acknowledgement of the power of the sun. So in ancient Egypt, the rising of Sirius coincided with the flooding of the Nile. So this was the Egyptian New Year. It marked the Egyptian New Year when the sun was at its full peak, and when Sirius rose out of the light of the sun, kind of thing. So it was also thought that this is a time, the ancient Egyptians believed that Sirius was the gateway to heaven, right? And that there were wise beings that resided there, and that when Sirius was at its power, and the sun was, and the earth and Sirius were all lined up, right? That's how the pyramids and temples in Egypt are aligned with this phenomenon. And so they believed it was a time of kind of cosmic download, in a sense, right? Where we had access to higher wisdom and messages from, the gods, from the cosmos, from, whoever, whatever power resided up there. And so in modern times, you'll hear people talking about that, where it's a time of greater awakening, of, higher consciousness, expansion, this kind of thing. And that may very well be true. It is a time when we can have some significant shifts happen. Now, also associated with this, so the Lionsgate portal, just let me say another word about that. Technically, it's August 8th, right? 8/8. That's when it's at its fullest potential, so that's tomorrow. But it's a window of time, like all of these things. And if you're interested in reading more about that, then you can look that up. I posted an article on Facebook yesterday on my Facebook page. I don't know if I said that already, but if you haven't read that, you can go over to Facebook and have a read. It's the link to Facebook and Instagram those accounts are below if you want to follow along there and you don't already. But so another thing about Sirius, right, in relation to this Lionsgate portal, Sirius, the dog star, that's where we get the term the dog days of summer, because it's the peak of summer when the sun is at its full potential, its full heat, those hot, sunny days, right? That's where that term comes from. So that's kind of interesting. So that's what's going on as far as that goes. And then we have another pretty powerful thing happening this week that is also about this celebration of abundance. And that is that Jupiter is stationing direct on August 11th, 9:37 a.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. You can adjust accordingly. And so Jupiter, the planet of abundance, of luck, of growth and expansion, of higher wisdom and seeking meaning, has been retrograde since April. And just like with any planet, when any planet goes retrograde, it's a turning inward of that energy, right? And so over this time, since the spring, there's been more of an inward focus on these concepts, on these Jupiterian concepts of abundance, of seeking wisdom and meaning. And, you know, so we've gone, or we've been tasked with, or encouraged to undertake that internal process. And it may be that we've been kind of trying to make some headway in the external world, as far as our growth, our abundance, our seeking meaning, even travel. Jupiter's associated with that, right? It rules Sagittarius, home in the 9th house. And we've been stalled. And that's because Jupiter's been retrograde. It's not a time of this outward manifestation. It hasn't been. It's been a time of doing the internal work that, if we've chosen to do that, when Jupiter stations direct and starts moving forward, or appears to move forward, right? From our perspective on Earth, then that's when we can see the manifestation on the outside. So the work that we've done in regards to that internal process can now start to manifest. So in the same day that Jupiter's moving direct, we've got Mercury moving into the sign of Leo, more focus on Leo, right? Leo energy, and I've talked about this in past videos, so I won't go over that too much here. And we also have Uranus going retrograde at 6 degrees Taurus, and that will be until January 10th. We'll retrograde back to 2 degrees Taurus. And so, again, that'll be an internalizing of Uranian energy. And so when Uranus goes goes retrograde, it's more a time of, Uranus is the planet of change and disruption and that kind of thing, right? Of sudden insights, aha moments, flashes of brilliance, of disruption. It's the liberator and the change bringer. So when it goes inward, we have more of an internal change process, increased self-awareness. We tend to get more changes happening without so much chaos, in our external environment. So it's like Jupiter and Uranus are kind of changing places, right? One's moving direct, one is moving retrograde, one's stationing retrograde. So this, I see this as like an amplification of what we were talking about in terms of the sun's full power, right? And the manifestation power, and the focus on abundance, and growth, and good fortune, right? Jupiter is the planet of good fortune. And so we can see some of this starting to manifest in our external world now. And where that's happening for each of us depends on where Jupiter, what house Jupiter is in for each of us. And I'm going to speak to that in just a minute. I'm just taking a look at my notes to see if there's anything else that I want to mention to you here. I think, oh yeah, one other thing. Again, today we have some more focus on the Sun and Jupiter, kind of marking the beginning of this powerful time. The Sun is in a positive conversation with Jupiter. So the Sun is trining Jupiter, right? That's a conversation of ease and flow. And so we can really have this shift in our perspective, like feel more optimistic, more blissful. We may actually manifest some luck. So it's a good time to maybe take some, calculated risks, like not doing anything dangerous, impulsive, reckless. That's not what I mean. But luck is on our side. And of course, this always depends on what's happening in your own personal chart, and I can never know that unless I see your actual chart, right? But in general, if you have things going on in Sagittarius, I can't, how foolish of me, I didn't write down the degree that Jupiter is stationing direct, my bad, and I cannot remember for the life of me, but I want to say it's kind of the mid to latter degrees. And then we've got, the Sun at 15 Leo. Yeah, it would be around the mid degrees that Jupiter would be stationing. Can't remember exactly, but so if you have planets, points, Sun, Moon, rising, a cluster of planets around those mid degrees of particularly the fire signs, right? Sagittarius and Leo and Aries, then you're probably going to feel this significantly. But that's not to say, like, everybody's experiencing this shift in direction. And this shift in our ability to manifest and to feel more optimistic and supported, by life, by this benefic energy of Jupiter and this powerful energy of the Sun, right? So yeah, I think that's all in terms of the details that I want to talk to you about. And I'm going to spend the rest of the video just briefly going through the signs and speaking to you about which house Jupiter is stationing direct in for each of us, right? And this is based, as always, on rising sign first and foremost, right? So, and to know your rising sign accurately, you need to have a pretty accurate time of birth. We can... we can, if you have a good guesstimate, then we can work with that, definitely. And there are some astrologers who do something called chart rectification, where they can get a pretty good idea of what your rising sign is, but it's quite the process. So, if you're a new parent or somebody who is planning on having kids and this interests you at all, then make sure that you take note, right, of the birth time, because I know sometimes we lose track of that, and if you ever want to have a chart read, or your kid wants to, it can be a bit frustrating. So anyway, enough about that. So based on rising sign, right, because when we do a general forecast, we know which house whatever activity is happening in based on rising sign. So listen to your rising sign or ascendant. Those two things mean the same. First and foremost, then, your sun sign and your moon sign as well. And those will give you each added layers of information. So let's begin with the obvious, and that's you, Sag, because Jupiter is moving direct in your sign. When you think about it, Sagittarius, and I meant to mention this in the intro, so hopefully some of you are still listening here and not skipping forward to your sign, but Sagittarius is related or associated with you know, the winter solstice, with the Christmas season, with those kinds of celebrations of abundance and, you know, gifts, right? Jupiter, the planet of gifts, this kind of thing. So, you know, there's no coincidences. So with with Jupiter moving direct in your sign, Sagittarius, this is a chance for external manifestation, for bringing forth some luck, optimism, growth, expansion in terms of you, right? And who you are out in the world, how the world perceives you. This has to do with your physical vitality, your physical body, your physical appearance. It has to do with your instinctual approach to the world. And so this can be a time of you know, increased vitality, of feeling maybe healthier, of having some luck in those departments, of being perceived in a positive, optimistic way by the external world. So, you know, that's what's going on for you. This is a really a nice time for you, Sag, because, you know, Jupiter's your ruling planet, obviously. So powerful stuff happening for you. And then we've got Capricorn next, where Jupiter is stationing direct in a very private part of the chart for you. It's the 12th house. And this has to do with solitude, you know, how you spend time in solitude, rest, recuperation, recovery, relaxation, you know, your connection to spirit, spirituality, your internal world, dreams. The 12th house has, you know, in the past been associated with loss as well, and with how we can sabotage ourselves, and, you know, through sort of unhealthy escapism, right? So also, you've heard me say before, the 12th house has a connection to things like hospitals, prisons, rehab facilities, hospice, spiritual retreat centers, anything you would consider sort of behind closed doors, you know, that's hidden away from the world, or from the outside world in some way. And so that there may have been something transpiring as far as that goes for you, Cap. But in general, I see this as there's been a lot of internal stuff going on with you, and maybe a bit of, you know, even kind of a lot of searching for meaning and wisdom, kind of, you know, experiences that you've gained some wisdom from internally. And, you know, this may have been a time of inner growth. And now those experiences can be externalized in a way that spiritual growth and that seeking meaning and that kind of thing, or maybe addressing some kind of, you know, self-sabotaging behaviors, those sorts of things, or some kind of loss that has happened, processing that. Now that wisdom can be externalized, those experiences can be externalized in a positive way, in a way that allows you to grow, right, spiritually, in a way that maybe allows you to feel some relief, some reprieve, some kind of thing, right? If you've been going through some difficult times. That's the best way I think I can articulate that for you, Capricorn. So, you know, some externalizing of internal wisdom that's been gained. I really kind of think that may be a significant thing for a lot of Capricorn risings, at least. So I'm going to move on to Aquarius now. I can't even see the time on the clock because it's so sunny, but hopefully we don't run out. Aquarius, this Jupiter stationing direct is happening in your 11th house, right? So there may have been a lot going on in terms of, deep thoughts, seeking wisdom, internal growth regarding your tribe, those people you are connected with, those folks that are walking the same path as you, friendship groups, organizations, associations, people that share a future vision, right? And this involves your hopes and dreams for the future. A lot of internalizing, and wisdom seeking on an internal level. And now with Jupiter stationing direct, that can be externalized. Like you've been processing, who is my tribe? And, who can help me? Who is aligned with my vision and can help me moving forward? These kinds of things may have been going on for you. And now you are going to see the manifestation of that in the outside world and have some luck and opportunity for growth, in terms of maybe your friendship circle or involving organizations, all those things that I mentioned related to the 11th house. So that's what's going on for you, Aquarius. And moving on to Pisces now. Pisces, Jupiter is moving direct in a very public part of the chart for you, your 10th house, right? So this is like your public reputation, your public persona, your career, the legacy you wish to leave, your authority or your relationship to authority. And so there may have been a lot of internal growth going on with regards to these things. You've been maybe doing a lot of work behind the scenes and now ready to launch something, to go public with it. And you have luck on your side as far as that's concerned. And a hit of optimism there, right? Your reputation may grow and expand based on the inner work that you've been doing over this Jupiter retrograde period. And, that's powerful and that's fortunate and lucky. So growth in your career, you've been doing the work and haven't been seeing many results, in the sort of physical outside world. But now that's going to start to shift and you'll start to see those results manifest. So that's for you, Pisces. And moving on to Aries now. Aries, no doubt, you've been doing a lot of internal work, a lot of maybe behind the scenes work in terms of teaching, learning, your own, philosophy and worldview, doing a lot of processing and internalizing of that and work on that internally of seeking wisdom within and seeking meaning within. This is happening in the 9th house for you, which is the home of Jupiter, right? Where Jupiter rules the 9th, and the home of Sagittarius. So this may involve some kind of travel that you've been planning or hoping for, but it hasn't manifested externally yet. And so now with Jupiter moving direct, it's a time when you're going to see the manifestation of those 9th house matters in the outside world, right? Forward motion will start to happen there. Luck is on your side. Opportunity, abundance, growth, those kinds of things. And so that's exciting times, Aries. I actually happen to know a couple of Aries folks who this is very relevant to, so I can see that beginning to happen for them and in their lives. So moving on to Taurus now, where we have Jupiter moving direct in your 8th house, Taurus. And so, the 8th house is a house of great depth. It's a house of transformation. The death and rebirth cycle lives in the 8th house kind of thing. It's a house of intimacy, our intimate connections, where and how we are vulnerable. It's the house of, that speaks to kind of the things, the secrets that we keep hidden and buried and don't really want other people to know. It's the house of shared resources. So the money, the energy, the time we share with others that comes to us through others, and so, on a practical level, those are things like loans, insurance, taxes, scholarships, bursaries, potentially even lottery winnings in the 8th house. So wills, inheritance, these kinds of things. And so there may have been some stalling going on in that area. Like maybe you've been waiting for an insurance payout, for example, and it's taking forever. And now with Jupiter turning direct, stationing direct, you can start to see, you know, the outward manifestation of that. Like things are finally starting to move forward in that 8th house area, and move forward with a sense of optimism and growth and expansion. You know, so that's good news for you, Taurus. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say to you, Taurus. And we're going to move on to Gemini now, where we've got Jupiter stationing direct in your 7th house of one-to-one relationships. So Gemini, there's likely been a whole lot of internal processing, work, growth, wisdom seeking, expansion going on with regards to your close personal relationships, right? This can be a significant other, it can be a business partner, it can be people you are close to. You've had to maybe process a lot in terms of this area, and there's been a lot of wisdom and knowledge gained over this Jupiter retrograde in regards to your one-to-one relationships. And some, you know, the feeling of kind of optimism or luck may have been lacking over this Jupiter retrograde in terms of one-to-one relationships. And now with Jupiter stationing direct, that's going to shift, and you will have, you know, that area of life for you will have some new, like a breath of fresh air, right? It'll be, you can exhale, you can see the positivity returning back in, you can see the internal work manifesting on an external level, and have some growth, luck, abundance happening in terms of your one-to-one relationships. So that's for you, Gemini. And we're going to move on to Cancer now, where we have Jupiter stationing direct in your 6th house of the daily grind and daily routine and your health and wellness routines. And so with Jupiter retrograde in this part of the chart for you, Cancer, you may have been doing a lot of internal processing, wisdom seeking, you know, learning, seeking meaning in terms of, you know, your health and wellness routines, perhaps. Thinking a lot about these things, growing internally as far as those things go, as far as your daily routine goes and how you spend your day-to-day, the tasks on the day-to-day, paid or unpaid, right? How you are in service to others. This is all 6th house. And with Jupiter retrograde there you can have experienced some feelings of frustration there, some lack, some inability to move forward. You know, you're not seeing the results externally of the internal work or the work that you've been doing in terms of this area of life for you. And now with Jupiter stationing direct and starting to move forward, you will begin to see those results manifested externally. You'll feel more positive, more optimistic, you know, have more luck in this area, more abundance, more growth, more expansion in this area of life. So, you know, and Jupiter is direct until next spring, right? When it will station retrograde again next May sometime. I can't remember the exact date, but so it's a long stretch of forward movement and growth as far as those 6th house matters go, Cancer. Now moving on to Leo, where we have, you know, a lot of focus on you, Leo, because of the sun and all of that stuff I was talking about at the beginning of this video. It's your season, time to shine, right? Like the big, beautiful sun that is your ruler. And now we've also got Jupiter stationing direct in your 5th house, which is your home. The home of Leo, the home of the sun. It is the house that speaks to how you shine your light, shining your light out into the world, being your authentic self, creative self-expression, speaks to, you know, all our creations, including children. This is the house of children, our children, children we're associated with, our inner child, that sense of playfulness and what sparks joy for us. And so there may have been some stalling going on in this area of life for you, Leo, and a feeling of frustration and things not moving forward here, of stagnation perhaps, or also a lot of internal work going on with regards to these matters, right? Internal wisdom, internal abundance and growth and expansion and seeking meaning. And now with Jupiter stationing direct, you will see the outward manifestation of that, right? And the external world. There'll be this area of life will feel more expansive. There'll be more opportunities for growth and abundance and, luck in that area, that fifth house area for you. So that's sounds like a lot of fun to me, Leo. So I'm going to leave you with that and move on now to Virgo, where Virgo, for you, Jupiter's been retrograde in the fourth house. And so this has to do with your home, your family, your roots, your ancestry, relationship to the mother, to nurturing, mother figures, your own mothering nature, your emotional security. So this area of life may have felt a bit frustrated, stagnated, stalled since the spring. Or you may have been doing a lot of work on the home front, right? Whether that be physical work, fixing things up, maybe looking for real estate, a new place to live, or renovations, some kind of work on your place of living, or working from home. If you're somebody who works from home and you've got a home business or something like that, there may have been a lot of work in general going on, but you're not seeing the results of that in the external world as Jupiter's retrograde. And now with Jupiter stationing direct, you will begin to feel more optimistic in that area of life, luckier, more abundant, more able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, to expand, to grow. Maybe just you've been hoping for a bigger house, right? That's expansion right there. And maybe that will manifest for you over this Jupiter direct period. So Virgo, that's for you. And I'm going to move on to Libra now, where we've got Jupiter stationing direct in your third house. So Libra, Jupiter's been retrograde in your house of communications, thinking, learning, internal dialogue, messages exchanged back and forth, those daily communications and our immediate environment. So the people in our immediate environment, like our peers, our siblings, our cousins, our neighbors, our community members, this type of thing. So there may have been this feeling of stalledness, of stuckness, of doing a lot of spinning your wheels, or maybe a lot of internalizing, internal growth, wisdom seeking, seeking meaning, right? As far as these third house matters go. And now with Jupiter stationing direct here, that the results of the work that you've been putting in can start to manifest in the external world, and you can begin to see the positivity, the optimism return there, and the abundance and the growth and the expansion, right? And so if you felt stalled in those in that communication area, then this is fortunate. You will begin to see, again, external manifestation there. So that's for you, Libra. And last but not least, in this case, we're speaking to Scorpio. So Scorpio, you've had Jupiter retrograde in your second house. And this can be, particularly frustrating in terms of you've been doing a lot of work and you're not, seeing the money, like show me the money kind of thing. This has to do with your resources, your personal resources, right? The skills and talents that you use to support yourself, to make money. Also time, energy, those are your personal resources that you put out there. And what you value, your worth, your self-worth. All of these things have been on a bit of a hiatus in terms, and what I mean by that is they've been there's been a lot of behind the scenes work going on there, a lot of internalizing, seeking meaning, you know, growth, wisdom in that second house area, but you're not seeing it in the outside world. Well, now Jupiter is going to show you the results of the work that you've been doing in that second house area. Jupiter moving direct in the second house will begin to, you know, you'll manifest the resources, right? Like the money, the self-worth, the values, all of that that's been bubbling on an internal level or behind closed doors, you'll now begin to see the results of that on a more external level. And it'll feel more optimistic, more abundant for you as far as that second house area goes, Scorpio. So that is all 12 signs, folks. And I really appreciate you joining me here on this hot sunny day. I'm going to get out of the sun for a little while now and go upload this video. And I will talk to you next week. Enjoy this beautiful, powerful week. And let me know what's happening for you. Okay, take good care. See you next week. Bye-bye.